that I don't know how to do it.
All right. So
I don't have that.
All right, so we are in Sefer Shmuel, we're in Perek Yud Alef in chapter 11, and what we learned so far is that Shmuel anointed Shaul. Shmuel is a prophet in his we are
Cute idea. Okay. Can you go fluffy though?
Israel entered Eretz Israel, and Shmuel was a prophet in his time. When Israel asked for a king, Shmuel agreed very reluctantly and begrudgingly. He said, okay, fine, you want a king. Hashem will choose a king. Hashem chose Shaul. And Shaul was the first king of Israel ever. Now what happens is that Shaul's greatness is that he's humble. And because he's so humble, people took it as a weakness.
What?
Shau's not that loud.
Well, I guess it is. Okay, I'm listening to a Torah class. So.
1 second. And what happened is that because Shaul is so humble, people didn't respect him from the get-go. They thought that he was just being a pushover and that he was not going to be any helpful as a king. So as soon as he was anointed, right after the ceremony of anointment, there were some people who acclaimed him and say, oh, amazing, we have a king, long live the king. And some people that despised him and neglected him, didn't honor him as their king. So that's where we leave at the end of chapter 10. And chapter 11 starts with a new scenery. And the new scenery of chapter 11 is completely moving scenes. And instead of focusing on Shaul, is going to focus on a different city in Eretz Israel that is getting in trouble. And it's almost as if Hashem sets up a stage for Shaul to prove himself. So what will happen is that there will be a city that will be in danger. And that city will be rescued by Shaul. And when Shaul will rescue that city, I'm giving the spoiler here, but when Shaul will rescue that city, that's when people are going to say, oh, he's worth something. Originally, when people asked for a king, they said, we want a king so that he can help us fight our wars. So here we have a war coming. And what place is Shaul going to take? So we're going to go to the beginning of Perek Yud Alef of chapter 11, even though we started it in the last class, it was before Pesach, so it will be a review. We'll do the beginning a little quickly, and then we'll move on. So I have here a book. I think I have it.
I don't want one.
You know. Here it's in English and Hebrew. So it's chapter 11. All right. So we are Perek Yud Alef, chapter 11, Pasuk Alef. You have it? Yeah. All right. Vayal Nachash Amoni, just so that I know, how is your Hebrew?
That's like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I translate all the time just to know how much I should spend on actually the words in Hebrew. It's okay. Vayal Nachash Amoni, and the king Nachash of Amon went up, Vayichan al Yavesh Gilad, and he camped around Yavesh Gilad. Vayomru kol anshe Yavesh Gilad, and all the people of Yavesh Gilad said, El Nachash tu Nachash, krat lanu brit, make us a covenant, venavdecha, and we'll serve you. So what happens here? We have a king neighboring to Eretz Israel. His name is Nachash, the king of Amon. Nachash in Hebrew means a snake. So already in his name, we know that he's someone sneaky, because the snake, that's very funny, I just remembered it, but in Harry Potter, there is Harry, he knows how to speak the language of the snakes. And he is new to the world of wizardry, so he doesn't know what is normal, what is not normal. So he tells his friend, well, everybody speaks, I'm sure a lot of people speak the language of the snakes. And his friends are like, no, that's really bad. Like even in the imaginary world, snakes are bad. So we know that snakes are bad because the first time we encounter a snake in the Torah is in the Garden of Eden, that we have the snake that comes and makes a sin. So the snake is the source of all sins in a way. So the impurity of the snake is extremely, extremely strong. So now that there's a king in the Jewish people, the impurities want to attack the Jewish people even more. And the strongest impurity is the original sin. So Nachash here represents an enormous strength of impurity that comes and attacks Bnei Israel. So what does he do? He comes and he camps around Yavesh Gilad. It's a city in Eretz Israel. And he did nothing yet. But the people of Yavesh Gilad realized he's going to make a siege around the city, starve us, fight us, kill us. And the survivors are going to become their slaves. So they say, hey, wait. It's okay. We'll be your slaves. Spare yourself the hard work. We know we're going to lose. We'll be your slaves. No mess.
Wait,
The Jews say that, the people of Yavesh Gilad. So it's very interesting because no matter how much you learn, you can always learn more. And when I gave the class the previous week, I didn't mention that because I actually was not aware of that story. But why were the people of Yavesh Gilad so sure that no one was going to help them and that they will lose the war, that they were really left to their own fate, and that they would lose against Amon? They could call the neighboring, they could call the neighboring tribes and like the other Shvatim and tell them, look, we're in trouble, can you come help us? They didn't even think, it didn't occur to them they could do that. So there are a few reasons. Number one, simple reason is that the country was very, there was no military cohesion. There was not a military leader that would gather the troops and organize a battle. So they said, like, everybody is like their own little garrison over here, over there. Like, it's not going to work. We're just going to lose. Amon is like a serious army. We don't stand a chance. Another reason is that in the past, Bnei Israel organized the war. In Sefer Shoftim, the previous book, Bnei Israel organized the war. And all Bnei Israel rallied in that war, besides for the people of Yavesh Gilad. So they say, we ditched everybody in the past. No one is going to come support us now. What is even more interesting, is that battle in where they did not join was a battle that was made against the tribe of Binyamin. Why? Because there was a big drama that happened in the tribe of Binyamin. There was a woman that was raped, and they decided that it's unacceptable. The Jewish people decided it's unacceptable to have a situation like that in our nation. We're going to wipe out Shevet Binyamin. The people of Yavesh Gilad didn't join. All the other tribes joined. And here we're going to see that Shaul is going to come to their help. And Shaul is from Binyamin. It's like closing the circle. So they say, Amon, you know what? I respect you, you respect me, I'll be your slave, we're done. Deal. Good deal. You save yourself a tremendous amount of casualties. Pasuk bet, Vayomer elem Nachash Amoni, Nachash the king of Amon tells them, you know what? It's not just like that, you become my slave. Bezot echrot lachem. In this condition, I have a condition. If you want me to make a covenant with you that you become my slaves, I have a condition. Binekor lachem kol en yamin. If you agree to gouge your right eye, for all the men have to gouge their right eye. Why? This will be a shame on all Am Yisrael, not only on the people who surrendered without fighting, but on all Am Yisrael, it's going to be a shame. Why? Because look, we have one nation that supposedly we're so supportive of each other and we're so Am Echad and Am Yisrael Chai and all these things. There's one nation in trouble, no one is going to come help them, that they have to surrender without fighting because they're so desperate. They so don't have hope that anyone will come help them, that they have to surrender before even they start fighting. That's really shameful for the entire nation, not just for the people who are not being helped, also for the people who are not helping. And by taking out the right eye, it's something that you see right away. If you have a whole city where people are blind from one eye, you see right away there's something wrong. As soon as you meet a person, you see there's something wrong with them. So right away, you're aware of their situation. So it's really shameful. So this is his condition. So in a deeper sense, we explained that actually what is a right eye? The right eye of a Jew is the Torah. That is as precious to us as the Torah. So we say the king of Amon, he didn't like our Torah. Why? Because in the Torah, it says that the Ammonim, the people of Amon, are not allowed to convert. They're not Jewish, fine. but they're not even allowed to convert. So he says, I don't like that your Torah is excluding us like that and not giving us the opportunity to convert. So I want to destroy your Torah. You have to give me all the Sefer Torahs that you have in your city. And with that, I can agree to make a covenant with you and you can become my slaves. So the people of Yavesh Gilad said, no. This is not the way it works. We agree to become your slave like in fair trade, not in, I'll gouge my right eye and I'll give you my Sefer Torahs. Like that doesn't work. So Pasuk Gimel Vayomru el Haziknei Yavesh Gilad. Wait. The elders of Yavesh said to him, Heref lanu shivat yamim. Give us 7 days. V'nishlecha malachim, and we'll send messengers bechol gevul Israel, in all the borders of Eretz Israel. Ve'im ein moshia otanu, and if no one is saving us, ve'yatzanu elecha, we'll go towards you, meaning we will surrender to you, as we said before. So it's imagine if you have thieves that come to your house. You tell them, 1 second, wait, I'm going to try to see if the police can come and then do your trouble. And what are they supposed to say, the thieves? Yeah, sure, I'll wait. So here, that's technically what they're saying. You know what, King of Amon, we can fight you, but give us 7 days that we may organize an army and then we can fight. What type of arrangement is that? So in a way, there is no honor in winning a war where you won before even fighting. So there is a reason here where the king of Amon can say, fine, I want you to fight so that I can have pride in my winning. But on the other hand, it makes no sense because you have an easy victory. Why would you give that up? But Nachash was so wicked that his real intent was to attack all of Am Yisrael. He was so confident with himself that he said, if they bring the red number, he said 2 things. Number 1, I know them. They're going to abandon them. No one is going to come help them. I'll give them 7 days. I'll look good. They will look stupid and miserable and shameful. Triple win. That's number 1. Number 2, he had an interest in them bringing the rest of Am Yisrael, because then he would fight all of them and he would kill all of us.
Which tribe was this battle against?
So the city of Yavesh Gilad, I was under the impression that they were from the Shevet of Binyamin, but it turns out that they're not. And I don't know which Shevet they're from, but they are from the north of Shevet Binyamin, not too far from Shevet Binyamin, but not from there. And they're not on the other side of the Yarden. They're somewhere next to, today would be between Yericho and the Kinneret.
Huh. We just don't know which tribe.
I didn't find that information.
Right.
But they're not from Yehuda, because Yehuda was a very respected tribe. They're not Kohanim, for sure. And they're not Binyamin. That's what I know. So, with that being said, so they said, give us 7 days. They thought in the 7 days, there has to be a Shabbos. And Shabbos may give us an extra bracha and protection. Okay. Pasuk Daled, Vayabohu HaMalachim Givat Shaul. The messengers came to Givat Shaul, the hill of Shaul, meaning in the place where Shaul lived. Vayedabru, so they get to the place of Shaul, but they don't see Shaul yet. Vayedabru advarim beoznei ha'am, and they said these things to the ears of the people. Vayisu kol ha'am et kolam vayifku, and all the people raised their voice and cried. They didn't see Shaul yet. They didn't tell Shaul. They're not talking to Shaul. They're going to the area where Shaul lives. Veina Shaul ba, and Shaul is coming. Acharei habakar, after the cattle, mina sadeh. Shaul is the newly elected king, and he's coming from the field. After the cattle, meaning he's coming back from a day of work in the field. Now, I would like to mention that 2 things. Number 1, it's extremely unusual. Why would Shaul be coming back from the field? He should be in the castle, sitting on the throne, worrying about what's going on in the country. But Shaul didn't take on the leadership completely yet, because he said, if I'm not accepted by all Am Yisrael, doesn't count. I'm not really the king. I don't want to force my leadership onto the people. I saw people didn't accept me as the king, people neglected me, people despised me when I was coronated. It didn't really start yet. With all Shmuel's goodwill, I'm not really the king yet. On the other hand, he did have already the neshama of a king. He was already anointed as the king. So that's why he's coming back from a day of work. On the other hand, there is another instance in the Torah where we have someone that comes from far to meet someone else. And when they meet is when that person is coming back from the field. And that's when Rivka and Yitzchak meet. When Rivka travels to go meet Yitzchak, to marry him, it says that Yitzchak is coming back from the field. And here, Shaul is also coming back from the field. So there might be a connection here because it says that Yitzchak was coming back actually from Gan Eden. He was coming back from a very spiritual place. And he was coming
3 years.
After 3 years after the Akedah.
Yeah.
So here we have Shaul that is coming back from the field. The field, spiritually, Kabbalistically, the field is a place where the Shekhinah can rest. So Shaul is not just coming from a day of work. Shaul is coming from spiritual occupations, even though he's coming after the cattle. He's coming back, and he's coming from spiritual occupations. All right. And Vayomer Shaul, as soon as he arrives, he says, Malam kifku, why are the people crying? How does he know that the people are crying? He just arrived. And the reason why he knows that people are crying is because he has a general neshama. As the king, he has a collective neshama for the entire Am Yisrael. And he felt in his global neshama, in his collective neshama, that there is a distress in the nation. And that distress, he didn't figure out where it was coming from, but he felt there was a distress. So why are people crying? What's going on? And then they sapulo Yavesh, and they told him the story of the people of Yavesh Gilad. The spirit of Hashem came on Shaul when he heard those words, and he was very angry. Meaning, he took really great concern that something bad was happening to people of his nation. So what does he do? He decides to take a drastic action. He took a couple of oxen, and he cut them in pieces. And he sent a piece in every border of Eretz Yisrael, in the hands of the messengers. He told them, you wanted to travel to tell people about your story, to have them come and save you. When you go to all these places that you were planning to go, bring them a piece of that cattle that I just cut up. And tell them like this, Lemo, say, whoever doesn't come out after Shaul and after Shmuel, this is what will be done to his cattle. Meaning, I command every man to join me in that war that we're going to wage. If not, I will come and destroy all your cattle. How do you know I'm serious? Because I cut my own cattle to prove my point.
But how did he know about the war?
Because the people of Yavesh Gilad came to his place and said, oh, we are being besieged. We're being besieged and we're in trouble and they want to do a war with us and they don't even want us to make a peace treaty with them. They want to attack us. Please help us.
Mm-hmm. It's actually interesting because they asked for 7 days.
Yes.
And there's a lot of Israel to cover. I mean, wherever, in 7 days he's sending all this out.
How do they think that in 7 days they can manage?
Yeah,
that's a good question. But clearly maybe they had enough. They would send people to send different places. Yeah. 7 days is not enough, you're saying. Yeah.
To create an army, to create...
Right?
No, and to even like walk or ride that far.
Right. It took time to travel.
So back, amass your army.
So it is quite a lot of days to ask for ceasefire, but not enough days to organize an army. But with Shaul's action, Vayipol pachad Hashem al am, the fear of Hashem came on the people, Vayetzu keish echad, and they all came out like one man. Meaning Shaul's action was very strong and was very impactful, and Hashem helped him. Hashem said, I'm going to help you by inspiring fear into the heart of the nation, that they will say, oh, Shaul is really serious. They could have said, whatever, who's this Shaul? Do I owe him something? Do I know him? Yeah, I saw him at the gathering where we went. I didn't have a good impression of him. That's what people said when they saw him. They didn't have a good impression of him. On the other hand, when they receive his message so strong, Hashem makes sure that they will feel that it's serious and they have to join. So everybody gathers and Shaul does a count. He counts them in Bazek. I'll explain. Vayu bnei Israel, and they were among bnei Israel, 300,000, 300,000. Ve'ish Yehuda 30,000, and from Yehuda 30,000. So 300,000 soldiers plus 30,000 from Yehuda. Why do we count Yehuda separately? So there are two opinions. One opinion says Yehuda is always separate because this is the king of Binyamin. Originally, the kings are supposed to be from Yehuda, and everybody knew that. So now that the king of Binyamin is gathering an army, you think Yehuda is going to be counted as regular people? No, they're going to make a stand and say, hey, you think you're going to just bring us to your army like commoners? No, we are the real royalty, and we're just doing you a favor by joining. But most commentaries will say, no. Yehuda, they're counted separately because they were always the best warriors. So it's like you have your elite unit, you count them separately. You have your regular units, you count them all as one big group. But the elite unit, you count them separately. So Yehuda, they're counted separately because they're the strongest. So let's say 30,000 of Yehuda is worth 75,000 of regular soldiers, type of thing. I'm not giving exact numbers. So
you're seeing that from when Yehuda and Yosef kind of met up, and that's where the strength
already we see it there, that Yehuda takes a strong stand.
Yeah.
And he's very strong, and he's not afraid of using strength. Yes, and power. Yes, definitely. On the other hand, I like to say that at that moment in that story of Yehuda and Yosef, Yehuda took ownership for Binyamin, took responsibility for Binyamin, and he told Yaakov, I'll be responsible for my brother. And we see that throughout history, Yehuda and Binyamin will always be together. And that's a beautiful thing, because afterwards the kingship will split, and we'll have 10 tribes in one side and Yehuda and Binyamin on the other side. When here we'll see in the second half of Sefer Shmuel, we'll have Shaul, who is from Shevet Binyamin, and David, who is from Shevet Yehuda. They will fight a lot. It will create a lot of strife. But it's a different type of fighting. The two Shvatim, the two tribes as a whole, they're always very united and very interdependent. So it's interesting to see that responsibility one for another that stays so strong for generations. So it says that Shaul counted the people in Bezek. So in Bezek, it could be the name of a place that is called Bezek, and that he counted them there. On the other hand, we know that we're not allowed to count the Jewish people. So what did he do? Bezek, some commentaries explain that it means broken pieces of clay. He told everybody, bring a broken piece of clay, and everybody had pieces of clay. If you go do archaeology in Israel, you'll find always pottery around in the digs, because the pottery was very easy to become impure and was impossible to purify. And the only thing you could do with it is break it after it's become impure. So people always had broken pieces of pottery around. And what did they do is that they put a piece of pottery in a large container, and then people would count the pieces, and that's how they would know how many soldiers they have. So, but what's the point to have broken pieces of pottery? Maybe take, I don't know, so everybody gives a coin, everybody gives. Some commentaries say that everybody had to give a lamb because it was close to Pesach, and they would use it for Korban Pesach. So what is that idea of a broken piece of pottery? Shaul was trying to show them we're all, as individuals, we're all broken pieces. The only way we can make a difference and we can be whole is when we are together. So that was the idea. So, Pasuk Tet. So now we counted them, and we have to make a plan. Pasuk Tet. Vayomru lamalachim abayim, and they said to the messengers that came, they said, Kot omrun leish Yavesh Gilad. This is what you will say to the people of Yavesh Gilad. Machar, tomorrow, tiye lachem teshua. You will have a salvation. Kechom hashemesh, in the heat of the sun, meaning in the middle of the day. Vayavohu malachim. The messengers came, they said the message to the people of Yavesh Gilad, when they were happy. Shaul is so confident that he's going to win the war. He doesn't say like by the end of the day, give us a day to finish the war, and say, no. By the middle of the day, already we'll have won. So, Pasuk Yud, Vayomru Anshe Yavesh Gilad, the people now have to relay the message to Nachash, the king of Amon, and they say to Amon, to the king of Amon, Machar נצא אליכם, tomorrow we'll go out towards you, ועשיתם לנו ככל הטוב בעיניכם, you can do to us whatever you want. It's going to be a fair war, we have an army, you have an army, we'll fight. פסוק י"א. Now the war happens. ויהי ממחרת, it was the next day, וישם שאול את העם, and Shaul placed the people, שלושה ראשים. He prepared 3 heads, 3 different units, fighting units. ויבואו בתוך המחנה, so we have here the city of Yabesh Gilad, we have the people of Amon surrounding the city, and Shaul is going to come from 3 different points, from 3 different places at the same time. He divides his army into 3 parts, and they each attack at the same time from 3 different points. ויהי ממחרת, so it was the next day, וישם שאול אותם 3 ראשים, he divided them into 3 heads, ויבואו בתוך המחנה, and they came into the camp, באשמורת הבוקר, at the beginning of the day, like at sunrise. As soon as the sun appears, there's a little bit of daylight, ויכו את עמון, and they hit Amon. עד חום היום, until the middle of the day.
As he said.
ויהי הנשארים, and the people who survived from Amon, ויפוצו, they spread out, meaning they ran away, they ran off, ולא נשארו בם 2 יחד. There was not 2 soldiers together. Now, we know that rule number 1 for soldiers is to always have a partner. You always need to have someone who literally has your back. You can never be alone. Because if you're alone, it's not just an easy target. You're a prey.
Yeah,
That's it.
Captured.
You can be captured. There's no one to protect you, and no one can know what happened to you. It's the rule number 1. Never be alone. There was a story in Israel, it was right after so it was 6 years ago. 6 years ago. No. Well, how old was she? 9. It was 9 years ago when the 3 boys were captured. It was 9 years ago when the 3 boys were kidnapped. And then they discovered all the tunnels. So then Tzahal went into Gaza, and they went into all the tunnels to bomb them and to take whatever was there, to block them, whatever there was. They made a huge operation in the tunnels. And there was a story of 2 soldiers that were in a tunnel together. I mean, the unit went into the tunnel, and 2 of them were responsible for each other. They were partners. And what happened is that there was one soldier that was wounded. And his partner was supposed to leave him. He said, but I can't leave him. So he went back. It was a huge debate. Like, people were talking about that story. They were saying how brave it is, but at the same time how dangerous it was, that he went back and took his friend and carried him with him out of the tunnel to not leave him by himself. Because soldiers, it's crucial for soldiers to always be with a partner. And here, the soldiers, they don't even care. The soldiers of Amon, they don't even care to have a partner. They're so done with that war, they're just running off as fast as they can without any concern for protocol for safety. So Pasuk Yud Bet. So this is a really fast war. We have all the preparation that takes us about 10 psukim of preparation for the war, of telling us how it develops and how all the drama and the tragedy and the panic and the actual war happens in 2 psukim, and actually in 1 pasuk. Pasuk Yud Alef is the only pasuk that describes the actual battle. That's how fast it was. Sometimes from the way the story is described, we understand how the story was. So the fact that there's only 1 pasuk that describes the battle, we see like it went on in a flash.
And it did.
And it did. In a flash, it was over. They started, they finished, boom, done. So how do people react after that? They had a situation. There was a city that was in danger. No one was going to take leadership. Shaul comes, makes a big bang, and rallies everybody. They go, they make the battle, they fight, and boom, they win. That's magical. How are they going to react towards Shaul with that? So Pasuk Yud Bet, Vayomer Am el Shmuel. The people turned to Shmuel and said, so Shmuel was at the battle. He was not leading the battle, but he was there as a support. Where are those people who said before, Shaul imloch aleinu, Shaul is going to rule over us? תנו את האנשים. Give us those people. ונמיתם, we'll kill them. Because look at that. We had people who were actually being disrespectful to our king. Look how amazing of a king we have. And people were disrespectful of him. They should be put to death because someone who is disrespectful of a king, it deserves death penalty. So Shaul hears that, he says, no. ויאמר שאול, לא יומת איש ביום הזה. Not one person should be put to death on this day. כי היום, because today, עשה Hashem תשועה בישראל. Hashem made a huge salvation in the Am Yisrael. And you want to put people to death. Today is a day of rejoicing. We need to focus on thanking Hashem for what happened. So Shmuel says, you know what, you're right. He doesn't say that. He says, Shmuel says to the nation, פסוק י"ד, לכו ונלכה גילגל, let's go to Gilgal. ונחדש שם המלוכה, and there will renew the kingship. He says, you know what, you're right. There were people, when we anointed Shaul the first time, there were people who said, why is he chosen as the king? Really, him? He's going to be our king. He's going to save us. He's going to do something for us. So it was not a proper coronation because he was not fully accepted. It was not unanimously accepted. So let's do another coronation. And we'll go this time, we'll not go to Mitzpeh where we went the time before, we'll go to Gilgal. What is special about Gilgal? Gilgal is the first place where Bnei Israel camped after they crossed the Yarden when they came into Eretz Israel. When they entered Eretz Israel, they had to cross the Jordan River. And as soon as they finished crossing the Jordan River, they made a big camp, and Hashem spoke to Yoshua and said, you have to stop here. Now that you entered the land, everybody needs to do a bris milah. Because when the Bnei Israel were traveling in the desert for 40 years, you were all traveling. Traveling is a time of danger. So no one was allowed to do a brit milah. But now that you arrived in Eretz Israel, you come into the Holy Land. You need to be pure people. You're my people. You need to have my covenant. So all the men need to do a brit milah. So it was the first mitzvah that they did in Eretz Israel. And they also did the Korban Pesach in Eretz Israel for the first time. So here, Shmuel says, one of the mitzvot that we're supposed to do when we arrive to Eretz Israel is to choose a king. So here, we're going to choose a king. We're going to choose a king again. So that's why they go to that place. Now, I would like to say that the Perek has one more pasuk Tedvav, but very interestingly, the next Perek is a Haftarah during the year. So the Haftarah is a chapter from the prophets that is being read after the Kriyas Torah that connects with the Parsha. So every week we read the Parsha in the Torah, and then when we finish reading the Torah, we read the Haftarah, that is a story from the prophets that connects in a way to the Parsha. And the next Perek is a Perek that we read as a Haftarah.
It's just this one pasuk?
No, so that's the interesting thing. It's Perek Yud Bet. So chapter 12, but it doesn't start at chapter 12. It starts at Pasuk Tedvav. It starts here because it starts with the people coming to Gilgal and rejoicing. Let's see how they rejoice. Vayelchu kol ha'am Gilgal. All the people went to Gilgal. Vayamlichu sham et Shaul, and they coronated their Shaul. Lifnei Hashem, before Hashem, Bagilgal in Gilgal. Vayizbechu sham zevachim, and they made sacrifices there. Zevachim, shlamim, different types of offerings. Lifnei Hashem. Vayismach sham Shaul v'chol anshe Yisrael ad me'od. And there Shaul and the people of Israel rejoiced very much. So here we have a complete turnover. The first time people were very suspicious of Shaul when he was coronated. And really, they were like, when we read the Psukim in the second coronation, because the first coronation happened completely in private, just Shaul and Shmuel. Second coronation happened in public. And in the reading of the Psukim, you hear the silence. There's a massive crowd. And you hear in the words of the Navi that no one is talking. People are shocked. It's like, who is he? It's like if you're electing the new president and it comes as a complete surprise. It's, I don't know, like You have a Yale graduate that no one has ever heard of. Like, yeah, it's great that he's a Yale graduate and he's amazing, but no one has heard of him. So that was the idea. And here, everybody's happy, and Shaul proved himself, and he's accepted by everybody. So now we have a situation where the entire nation is gathered, and Shmuel has an audience. And Shmuel is going to use this time for Perek Yudbet for doing his parting speech from Ben Israel. We have the great leaders of Am Israel. We see it in the Torah. They give a parting speech to the nation or to their family. It happened several times. For example, we have Yaakov, before he passed away. He gathered all his children around his bed, and he gave them each a little speech. We have Moshe, before he died. He gathered all Am Israel. He spoke to them for 40 days. That's a different story.
Wait, a parting speech, like he just became king.
Parting, yeah.
Parting, not partying, parting. And it's very, very common, so don't worry. Shmuel is giving the parting speech, not Shaul. Shaul is the king, and Shmuel is giving the parting speech. So what happens is that Shmuel, he's now about 50 years old, and he has been on the public scene since he's 2 years old. So for 50 years already, he's a public figure. And now that now what happens is that when he was a child, whatever, he was working in the Mishkan, everybody got to know him. He became a prophet, so people were approaching him about different things. But then after Eli passed away, after the Kohen Gadol passed away, he became the leader of the generation. And people knew him. But now what happens is that people ask for a king. So who is going to be the ruler of the nation now? Who is going to be the leader? It's going to be the king.
Yeah.
So he says, look, you don't have any use for me anymore. We just accepted a new king together. So for sure, I'm not going to be on the social scene so much more. So now you're all here. I'm here. I'll tell you my last words. And this is what Perek Yudbet is going to be about. That's it.